In one enormous country, the energy and the people sit in completely the wrong places. Nearly all of the coal, the great rivers, the wind, and the sun are gathered far away in the remote west and north. But the factories and the vast coastal megacities that actually burn all of that power are crowded down on the eastern shore, often more than 2,000 kilometers away. For decades, the only real answer anyone had was to load the fuel onto trains and haul it east. Then one company made a very different and deeply contested bet. It decided to move the electricity itself right across the country. And that single decision now quietly lights up very nearly a fifth of the entire human race. This is the story of State Grid. Here is the pattern worth learning. Call it owning the distance. When the thing everyone wants is sitting far away from the people who actually need it, the real prize is almost never the thing itself. The real prize is mastering the link that carries it. Everyone can see the coal and the dam and the open wind, but almost nobody is willing to solve the boring and staggeringly expensive problem that sits right in the middle. The problem of moving all that power a very long way without simply losing it on the journey. So look at the shape of this one country. Its richest energy lies hundreds and often thousands of kilometers from its biggest cities. And for a very long time, the default solution was simply to move the fuel and not the power. Endless trains of coal rumbling slowly east from the mines toward the distant coast. But that old answer was quietly breaking down. Ordinary power lines, you see, leak. Push electricity far enough along them, and a painful share of it simply bleeds away into the air as waste. And the great coal railways were already groaning, jammed almost to bursting, carrying a huge slice of the entire nation's coal. Meanwhile, the hungry cities on the coast just kept demanding more and more and more. And here, in the middle of the 2000s, was the fork in the road. The safe and sensible path was obvious. Just build more of the same ordinary lines, dig more mines, and run yet more coal trains. But a few state engineers were quietly pushing something that sounded almost reckless. Lines running at a colossal 1000 kilovolts, ultra-high voltage, roughly double the normal power, able to carry far more electricity far further while losing far less of it along the way. There was just one small problem. Nowhere on earth was anybody yet running such lines, commercially at all. And the warnings came thick and fast. Serious experts argued that these ultra-high voltage lines would be wildly, ruinously expensive, that it might honestly be cheaper just to keep shipping the coal by rail, and, most frightening of all, that stitching an entire nation together onto one giant synchronized grid could invite a single catastrophic failure to cascade until it blacked out half the country in one stroke. But they did not take the safe road. Instead, they built the impossible lines anyway. In 2009, the very first commercial ultra-high voltage line switched on, running some 600 kilometers and tying the coal country in the north to the river country further south. And then, in 2010, came the real statement. A single line, reaching around 2,000 kilometers, carrying pure hydropower from the deep interior straight into the heart of Shanghai. At the time, it was quite simply the most powerful transmission link anywhere on the planet. And these giant lines lost as little as around 2% of their power for every 1,000 kilometers they crossed. Now imagine instead that they had made the cautious choice and simply kept laying ordinary lines and running more coal trains. Think carefully about what would most likely have followed. The overloaded railways would have been forced to carry even more, bidding against a corridor that was already close to bursting. All of that magnificent wind and solar, out in the empty west, would have had nowhere at all to go and would have been switched off and wasted on a colossal scale. And the coast, no matter what, would still have been left short. The entire clean energy heartland of the West would have become one vast field of stranded, useless assets. And this is not some fantasy. It is exactly the wall that other great nations keep slamming into and stalling against right now. Instead, those first two proofs became a template. From them, this one company went on to build dozens more of these ultra-high voltage lines until they formed the very backbone of the whole nation's power. Today, State Grid delivers electricity to the vast majority of a country of well over a billion people. It has grown into one of the 3 largest companies of any kind in the entire world, an utterly colossal machine, quietly humming behind a fifth of all humanity. And then it did something even cleverer. It took that boring, brutally hard problem it had just conquered, and it turned the solution into a product to sell. Far away in Brazil, a country facing the very same curse of distance, State Grid built those same ultra-high voltage lines, once again reaching some 2,000 kilometers, to carry hydropower out of the deep Amazon basin and down to the crowded industrial southeast. Where almost everyone else on Earth was still stuck arguing about whether it could even be done, State Grid was quietly out in the world, selling the finished standard. Now, it is worth being honest about all of it. A great deal of what still flows down those wires is coal, not clean power. And even this enormous grid has not entirely ended the waste. But that misses the deeper move. It did not win by owning better coal or bigger rivers than anybody else. It won by owning the wire in between them. The whole fortune was locked up invisibly inside the empty gap, and it chose deliberately to go and master that gap. So here is the lesson worth keeping. When the thing you want is sitting far from the place it is truly needed, do not pour every ounce of your energy into merely fighting over the thing itself. Go instead and quietly master the connection that carries it. Because whoever truly owns the link, in the end, comes to own the resource. So ask yourself, honestly, what genuinely valuable thing in your own world is sitting stranded and unreachable right now, simply because nobody has yet bothered to build the bridge across to it?